Hello parents and guardians, my name is Mr. Cohens and I am your student's 8th grade math teacher here at Robinson Junior High. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and then also introduce Mr. Hicks. This is my 21st year of teaching and it's my 3rd year at Robinson Junior High, and I just want you to know that I really love my job or I wouldn't be doing it. So I'm here to help you guys and your students be as successful as possible. And I want to introduce Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks is going to be with us all year long as well. He is a senior at Baylor and he is doing his internship or student teaching in our classroom this year. Mr. Hicks.
Yeah, so I'm here to support your students as well. I'm originally from Bridgeport, Texas, and I'm really excited to help your students out this year.
The way we do math here at Robinson Junior High in 8th grade is we use Pathways to Mastery to help students keep their learning organized and to make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful. So I want to kind of show you a pathway and explain to you exactly what we are looking for when students do a pathway. You'll see that this is Pathway to Mastery 1B, and there's lots of information on here. First of all, if we have a test, the test is going to be labeled at the very top. So our Unit 1 test for this year is going to be on Tuesday, September 10th. You look at the pathway and it's divided into 2 sections. The top section are the non-negotiable activities. These are activities that students must do in completing this pathway. And at the bottom of the pathway, you'll see a menu board of additional activities. And these are all activities that support all the required information, but they're optional for students. I say optional. They're required to do some of them, but they don't have to do all of them. They can pick and choose which ones they work on. So in the non-negotiables, there are 2 topics of study in this pathway. Sometimes there are 3. But in this case, it will talk about ordering real numbers, a video lesson and notes, and then the math workshop. So students are required to watch a video that either I create or another teacher on our campus creates. And then there's a math workshop that goes along with that. So once they watch the video and take notes in their composition book, then we call them over in small groups and we make sure they understand everything that they watched in the video, and we do a little bit of practice to make sure they understand. And that happens for both lessons. And then there's some type of review or test review, test corrections here in this spot. And then they have independent practice. The independent practice is found somewhere later in the pathway, and it is just opportunities for students to show us that they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing on each of the topics. You'll see that each of the items has a point value on the left-hand side. So every time they complete something, Mr. Hicks or I will initial in these boxes, and they will earn that number of points towards their pathway score. Every pathway includes 2 scores. The pathway score, which comes from the point totals on the left-hand side, and their independent practice score. The independent practice score comes completely from this area right here. We find their independent practice and we check that together to see how many they got right out of the number that were required for them to do. And that's where that second score comes from. So every pathway has 2 scores. Going down to the menu board of activities, again, students get a choice on which ones that they choose to do. P over here stands for that you can work with a partner. I means that you have to work at it individually and do the work on your own. I or P means that you can choose to either do it individually or you can work with a partner. So all of these, if you look at the total and add it up on this pathway, the total actually is 130 points. So students can earn over 100 on their pathway score if they choose to do more activities than are required. And they will earn bonus tickets for any score above 100. And I have a store in my room that students can use their tickets at. The last part of the pathway that I want to explain is at the end of each pathway, when we turn it in, we have what's called wrap-up day. Wrap-up day is the day that we look at the pathway together, we grade anything that needs to be graded together, and then we also take a quiz over the information on this pathway so that we can kind of verify that the students know exactly what they're supposed to know for each pathway. So that's what a pathway looks like. All of this information is also found in Schoology. A copy of the pathway, the video notes, any other materials that a student need will be in their class on Schoology. The final thing I want to talk to you about is the 2019-20 unit test and pathway quiz, Opportunities for Improvement. The unit test is after about 2 or 3 pathways, depending on what we're doing, and then the quiz comes after every pathway. So if they take a quiz, here I'm going to summarize. If a student takes a quiz and they don't do as well as they wanted to, then they can retake a second copy of the quiz. It won't be the same questions, but it'll be the same types of questions with different numbers, different names, all of those. So they can retake the quiz if they'd like to, and whichever quiz they scored the highest on will be the score that is recorded in the grade book. Okay? But there's 2 things that they have to do. The student must correct the original quiz. They must show their work, they must do corrections, and turn that in, and then they must come in before school, during lunch, or after school to take the second version of the quiz. We will not offer second versions of quizzes during class time. So they can choose to do those things, retake the quiz. Even if they made an 80 and they'd like to make a 100, then they're welcome to retake the quiz after they've done these 2 things. Now, when students take a unit test, it's given at the end of each unit, and the test will cover material from 1 or more pathways. If a student isn't satisfied with his or her grade, then they can do test corrections. Okay? Test corrections are always going to be a part of the next pathway after that test. And when students do corrections and they show all of their work and show me why they chose the new correct answer, then they will earn half of the points back on their test grade. And that will be the way that they can raise their test grade. If a student needs assistance with the unit test or the pathway quiz corrections, he or she can come ask us, and we will be happy to help before school, after school, or during lunch.
All right, we hope this information has been helpful to you. If you ever have any questions or about your students' progress in this class, you can contact us or set up an appointment for a conference. We hope it'll be a great year.
Thanks for watching the video. We really appreciate it. And because you watched the video, we're going to give your student some tickets that they can spend at our classroom store. So we appreciate your help and look forward to working with you throughout the school year.